With this one, I want it to be a little bit more lighthearted, so I brought back some of the good comments for the end, so hopefully I can get a good laugh out of that. And I also avoided some topics that I just really didn't want to talk about because I knew it would get me really frustrated, and yeah, I didn't want that. So it's low-hanging fruit today. Sorry. If you're curious about the things that I skipped over just for the sake of clarity, the main one was definitely having to do with the Battlefield video. Not that any of you really care about that anyway, but there were a lot of people on my Battlefield video that did exactly what I thought they would do. They went in, they left angry and mean comments, they didn't do any fact-checking or any research of their own, they just poked holes in what I did, didn't do anything themselves, and then said, "You're wrong," even though I have nothing to refute about it. It was like this before, so it only should be all the stuff I expected. And I don't want to get into that too far, because like I said, I'll just get frustrated, I'll be saying the same stuff over and over again, so I skipped it. And then the other one was a couple people from the Q&A that I did, where I was talking about being too harsh on games, and I had some people that were just, well, they were talking about games that really deserved the stuff that they got, but whatever. We're not worrying about that today. Now, instead, we're gonna start off with something that I got a good laugh about, and it was something that came from my Discord DMs. It's something that I've talked about before on Daily Dose of Stupid. I've talked about it in my Q&As, and apparently it's still going over some people's heads. But anyways, some guy sent me a DM and they were like, "Yo, Eclipse, you should check out this one game called Parry. It's very fun, but it's not very well known." Now, for those of you who are avid watchers of the channel, you might know that I played that game. And so when I get these sorts of comments, usually I just ignore them, but this time around I decided to, play it up. So I was like, "All right, Google time," expecting the person to, catch on. They did not. So they responded again and they said, "It's in Roblox. I forgot to say. My bad." So I sent them another message and I said, Google time? And they responded once again, still not getting it. Google time, fire emoji. And then sent me a screenshot of them Googling Parry on Roblox. So I responded back and I was like, this is clearly going nowhere. So I said, quite possibly the most dense person on the planet. And then I sent them a screenshot of Eclipse Roblox Parry, and then my video being the very first result that comes up. Because of course it is. And I think the best part about this was that, I don't totally fault people sometimes for things like this. I wish I took a screenshot of it. I had someone the other day who was asking me to play, I can't even remember what the game was, but whenever people ask me to play something I've already played, I go myself, which is extra effort that I really shouldn't do, but I go myself to Google it to find out if it shows up, because to be perfectly honest, with some of these videos, especially if it's a lesser known thing, because they're not viewed enough, they won't even show up if you Google it, even if you search the right key terms. Like, generally speaking, Eclipse Roblox game name works. If that doesn't work, you're probably just not gonna find it unless you go directly to my channel. So I had someone that did that, and I was like, yeah, I already played that. Not your fault that you couldn't find it because it doesn't show up on Google. And I don't expect people to search through every single one of my videos to find it, because that's ridiculous. A simple Google search, easy. Searching through all my videos, not so much. It also happens sometimes when I don't put the title of the game in the title or the description of the video. Sometimes then it won't show up as well. But this person, no excuse. Now this was really neat, something I haven't seen before, but doesn't surprise me in the slightest. It's from another Discord DM, this one from Inksplat, and they say, "Hey, I found a kind of wild little Roblox scam if you want to check it out and make a video about it." Obviously, I'm not making a full video about it, but I did think it was funny enough to mention here. But they said, basically, in my recommended games, I saw one called 4 Blues that seemed to have an interesting premise about being a pirate and sailing 4 oceans. Standard open world Roblox action MMORPG type stuff. But when I looked at it, there were 0 players and 9.3k visits, which is weird. But when I joined, I was met with something that shocked me. Here's a screenshot of the game. And of course, the screenshot of the game is featured there. It has 3 buttons: set sails, controls, tutorial, and then the real kickers are, of course, the things on the right. Free early access. Like the game, favorite the game, wait for the timer, and then there's a timer on screen, followed up with another timer for lucky spins. All of this on the main menu. And they say, and guess what? This is literally the entire game. There is no game. It is literally just a scam designed to farm premium payouts, high ratings, and worst of all, a fake early access that costs 500 Robux if you actually try to start the game. So I'm like, what the hell is this? And I checked the dev group who made the game, and when I went to the account of the owner to see what else they made, they have 2 other games that are the exact same thing. One being a fake anime volleyball game and the other being a fake roguelite dungeon crawler. And they all have the exact same scam. And then they sent a photo of the dungeon crawler one, which again is just some UI elements moved around, but it's the same thing. This is the kind of stuff where it's like, Roblox obviously doesn't care, and it's hilarious that they don't care, but just like the stupidity of the 9.3 thousand people who probably, let's be honest, they probably waited the timer. How dense would you have to be to open up a game and it says, hey, wait 30 minutes before you have to play? And then people probably waited for it. Just thinking about it makes me laugh. Like, it should make me depressed, but I'm not in the mood for that today. That's fucking hilarious. Wait 5 minutes for a lucky spin for this game that literally doesn't exist. Anyways, the next stupid is calling someone out in my own community for just being a moron. But the original comment came from Matistic Statistic, and this comment was on my Token Traveler video, which if you saw that, you'll know that I really liked that game. And they left a very, very simple, inoffensive comment. They said, I do not see what you see in this game. Which, like, that's fine. If you don't like the same games that I do, and you're not mean about it, whatever. And somebody responded perfectly reasonably to their comment, saying that the genre must not be for them, and that puzzles and platformers aren't this person's thing either, so while the video was fun to watch, they're not going to be playing it. And again, if people don't like the genre of the game that I'm covering, it doesn't matter how good the game is. And even if they do like the genre of the game and they just don't vibe with the game, I can't say you're wrong for not enjoying playing a game. You don't need to have a reason for that. And as long as you're not being an asshole, like, whatever, that's fine. But apparently, someone took this personally for some reason. I can't tell if it's on my behalf or they just really love this game, but this is just like, I almost don't even know what to say about it. They said, it's actually obby plus exploring plus puzzles plus platformers. Also, stop the cap. If this is fake, then where these clips came from. 0 out of 10 rage bait, not gonna lie. Fake? Who was saying that it was fake? Where did this come from? And so Matt responded again and said, they got the message across just fine. Don't need to be literal 24/7. Also, where are you getting fake and rage bait from? And neither of us said anything remotely akin to that, which, yeah, that they did not. And he shot back and said, maybe look at your comment again, instead of actually explaining what he meant. So Matt responded again and said, pardon me, but what the actual fuck are you yapping about? I don't know. I really, really don't know. I'm sure there's some sort of, maybe there's a lost in translation thing going on here. I don't know how you could ever read, I don't see what you see in this game, as like, maybe they took it as like a literal interpretation, as in, I don't see a game, there's no game to see. I don't know, but it's just, what happened here? What the fuck? Now, I did want to take a look at some comments from my Basketball Zero video, because some of this stuff is really kind of sad, some of it's really funny, some of it's just stupid. The first, which is just something that I think is a constant on Roblox, but I still thought that it would be prudent to put in here. The comments from TechieOP, who makes YouTube videos as well, they're generally pretty high quality and he doesn't put out too many of them, so feel free to go check out his channel. He kind of does a more high effort version of what I do a lot of the time. And from what I have seen, tends to be a little bit more positive on the outlook of some of this stuff, so maybe that'll be better or worse for you. Regardless, they left a comment on the Basketball Zero video, and they said, it's gotten to the point where I just look past the gambling systems. It's a feature in literally every single front page game. We are forced to engage with it in order to even make these games playable or fun. And I think that mindset is almost sort of part of the problem, and I think acknowledging that that mindset is part of the problem should help a lot, because that's the thing that a lot of people don't see. And a lot of people get mad at me when I point it out in videos and they say that I sound like a broken record, and they're like, why do you keep commenting about this stuff? Like, why do you talk about gambling constantly when you know it's not going anywhere? And I'm like, well, if people just look past this and accept this in every single one of these games that's on the front page, then it just cements itself as continuing to be commonplace. And even if I am old man yelling at cloud, even if I am talking to a brick wall, like, would it be better to just accept it and give up? Like, is that your solution? Just, oh, okay, I'm just gonna quit. I'll just give up trying to make games better. Like, no, of course not. But people don't see that, and they're like, well, if you keep saying the same thing over and over again and it doesn't work, why do you bother? Well, because I have to try, even if I know it won't work. It's better than doing nothing. And so if there's any goal from my channel at some point, it's to make people look at what they're consuming and whether or not it's actually good and some of the problems with it, so that way, maybe at least when they get older, they can look back on it and not look back on it fondly, because the last thing that I want is people looking back with nostalgic lenses on terrible games that were just objectively terrible simply because they played them when they were young and are unable to think about them critically. I already see tons of it as it is, and I want to try to curb that as much as I can. Anyways, moving into some of the actual stupid comments on the video, we had someone who, it wasn't a stupid comment, and I don't know why they blurred their name, and I'd have to hunt this comment down. I'm not going to do it, so my apologies to whoever wrote this, but, and they said, Eclipse, I'm on your side, but the thing is, with 2-on-2 is how basketball works IRL, which is make it, take it. And there's several problems with the idea of trying to even remotely bring realism or real life or how it works in real life into this, because first of all, you gotta be fucking kidding me, right? We are not going to be trying to compare Basketball Zero, a game where you can like shoot half-court shots like they're nothing and have aimbot and can break people's ankles so they constantly fall on their face and like all of this other stuff. In fact, I think there was another comment on here that said exactly this. Let me go see if I can find it. Yeah, here it is. Smelly Delinquent, which is a fantastic name, says, have you ever seen people in real basketball cripple people and start flash stepping to the hoop? No, of course not. So the idea that this is how it is in basketball, so this is the way it should be in the game, is incredibly stupid, because how it should be lending itself to the gameplay of the game itself. We're not playing real basketball, we're playing a video game that's extremely unrealistic based on basketball. And just because that's the way that it is in real life doesn't mean that that's the way that it's going to play in this game, because newsflash, Basketball Zero does not play like real basketball. In real basketball, you can't break people's ankles and just have half the team faceplant. In real basketball, dribbling the ball doesn't make you immune to people stealing it, because you have to dribble the ball, otherwise you're carrying it across the whole court, and that's a foul. And it wouldn't be very much fun if you had to time your dribbles every time you had the ball. So instead, the dribble mechanic is changed into something to prevent you from just getting the ball stolen from you. We simplify and change things in service of the game, not the other way around. So in the case of Basketball Zero, as I explained in the video, being on offense is an insane advantage. And because of that, make it, take it rules do not work in terms of balancing, and it is not fun to play that way, because it leads to steamrolling matches where somebody just scores over and over and over and over again, and it just sucks. It's not fun. And then speaking on the whole idea of realism and the fact that the aggressing team already has a huge advantage, we have a comment from Shade3428 who says, Eclipse, fun fact, in this game you've probably tried to block a pass and wondered, wait a minute, I blocked that, and or probably chalked it up to the ball being released at mock speeds, which I had. However, that's not the case. Turns out there's a bug, or what people who play this game call a mechanic, where if you shoot the ball, then spam pass, the ball becomes unblockable. This was a thing since the beginning of the game and has yet to be fixed. Yeah, in real life, a pump fake pass is a real thing. In real life though, if you try to do that, somebody can still block your pass. In video game land, that's not how it works. Now, this, once again, leads even more into the bias towards the aggressing team because now they can quite literally pass back and forth for free, but also, that doesn't sound very realistic now, does it? Anyways, I don't want to harp on Basketball Zero forever, so let's move over to the last subject matter for today's Daily Dose of Stupid, and that is Restaurant Tycoon 3. This thing is depressing. This thing should have no defenders, and yet it has so many, and that is awful. It's just awful. The first comment I can't even make up if I tried. They said, it's a quote from me, "This is just flat out embarrassing. Who in their right mind would be stupid enough to pay for this?" To which the person, of course, responds to my quote saying, "MF, literally you." Yeah, literally me. If I didn't buy it, I couldn't review the fucking game. How was I supposed to talk about it if I had to pay to play it, and I couldn't play it without paying? Are you brain dead? What should have happened here is that people should have bought this game like stupid people, and then played it and realized, hey, this is literally just the thing that I already have, but worse. I don't think this is good design. I don't think this is good practice, so I'm not going to support this. I'm not gonna have the game have 9,000, 10,000 players, and then the player counts will go down. And then people like Eclipse won't look at this and go, that's weird, this has so many people, let me go talk about it. Buy it, not for the intent of playing or enjoying the game, but for the intent of seeing what the game's worth is. When have you ever gone to a review channel and blamed the person reviewing the product for paying to review it? How else were they going to do it, man? What? I say this a lot, but I really couldn't make that up if I tried. Now, that said, there were a lot of people that got mad at me because the game was really cheap. And we've talked about this with the whole Tower World situation already, so I promise I'm not gonna harp on the same things that I did that time, because I don't think that it's worth reiterating those obvious points. If people don't already get that, then they're never going to, but I'll give you a Cliff Notes version and give you a bit of a new perspective on it. Anyways, for comments on that, I just pulled two quick. The first one was, bro has not heard of any early access games, which early access games are their own slippery slope. You're not seriously thinking that you just heard me all say those things and that I would be just blindly supportive of games that do the exact same thing. Whether it's here, whether it's on Steam, whether it's on Epic Games, Microsoft Store, no, same shit. If you're releasing an early access game and it's barely completed and you're expecting players to test it for you, I don't think that that's good practice no matter where it is. Escape from Tarkov, I've spent 3,000 hours in that game and it's a broken fucking mess. And I've said that it's a broken fucking mess and that I don't think that that's good practice. That said, at the very least, for games like Escape from Tarkov or a game like Ark Survival Evolved, another early access game that I was a part of before it fully released, those games are their own thing. They're not sequels to things that already exist that make you pay for the privilege of doing the testing job for the developers. And not only that, but all of those games, just for the record, all of them will still cost money when they release. And in a lot of cases, they'll cost more money. So by paying to playtest their games, you're paying less money for a game that you will get in full later. For games like Restaurant Tycoon and other crappy games on the platform that force you to pay to test their games, they will become free later, which means that you are directly being scammed. You're paying to play something early that people will not have to pay for later. It's the direct opposite. The other games that I mentioned have you pay to access it early and pay less because it's not finished yet, and they don't suddenly charge you the full price of the game when it comes out, nor does this game charge anyone else for when it comes out. They just stole your money straight up. And the other common sentiment was that it's cheap. acting like it's a $20 game. It's 25 fucking Robux. Yeah, it's 25 Robux. Okay, well, it should be 0. It doesn't matter how small the price tag is. That's not an excuse. You shouldn't be forgiving someone for nickel and diming you for everything you're worth just because, oh, it's a cheap price, when this whole thing should not be having you pay for it to begin with. That was my whole point. And just to bring home that point, we can once again talk about the monetary aspect of it. If we're just talking about, oh, it's only 25 Robux, Eclipse, it's really cheap. Well, 9,000 plus concurrent players at the time of when I was playing it, which means 9,000 people had to spend the 25 Robux in order to get in. That's 225,000 Robux, or nearly $800. They made $800 by forcing you to playtest their own game. And apparently, no one sees anything wrong with that. Apparently not, because you guys are brain dead. You're just fucking stupid. There's no way around it. Like, I know that's crass and it's mean, but come on, you'd have to be blind. They almost certainly made over $1,000 forcing you to test their shitty game that's gonna be free later. Are you stupid? Yes, you are. And it's not like everyone was an idiot on this front. We have this dipshit who's this grown man gets mad at a sequel to a game on a children's platform, complains about playing to playtest someone else's game, doesn't realize it's for fans who want early access if not completely done, doesn't realize that there's more variety for building the restaurants and new dishes, nor realizes that there's more to come with custom food, more at 9. And yeah, this guy's a fucking moron. Everyone knows he's a fucking moron. Even these two people knew he was a fucking moron, with Berscoli Scriff saying, I don't remember having to make a whole new game with microtransactions for new buildings and dishes with the same steps. Quit dick riding. And the other person saying, why not just implement it into Restaurant Tycoon 2? Well, the answer is because if they implemented it into Restaurant Tycoon 2, then they couldn't charge people 25 Robux, they couldn't get a free $1,000 for nothing, plus forcing to reset everyone's progression from the second game, so that way they have to do all of it again in the third game, milking them for premium payouts, milking them for game passes. That's why. But these people are too stupid, so they don't see it. Simple as that. Anyways, that's it for the stupids when it comes to today. Now we're just gonna get a laugh at some cool comments that I saw from people. The first was on my Critical Revengeance video. It comes from a whole can of Raid Ant and Roach spray, who says, Eclipse Revengeance is a phrase that strikes fear into the hearts of many. All fear the mighty camera, hardest of all bosses. Which, of course, for those who know, is a reference to the Camera Gear Rising videos, which, yeah, the camera in that game, real bad. One of these days, I'm going to do that review. I played the whole game for reference over on Revengeance difficulty. I borderline 100%ed the game. I think I came pretty close. I completed the whole game with S ranks on Revengeance. I played a shitload of Metal Gear Rising and then just never got around to reviewing it because I think it was at a point where my channel was kind of in the dumps and I knew the video wouldn't do super hot, so I just sort of dumped it, never got around to it. But yeah, I even still have some clips laying around of some of the obvious problems with the camera and why it legitimately hurts the game. Because I know a lot of people looking back on that, even now, are still critical. They're like, whoa, cameras like that in all of these action games and blah, 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 blah. But I have like legitimate proof as to why the camera actually harms the game and is the worst part of the game. So it's not like I'm just making this stuff up. But we'll get to that eventually, but I thought the comment was funny, so I put it on here. This was an interesting take on the basketball game. It's from Fun no Kami, and they say, it's sad how kids have to play these slop sports games because the good and balanced sports games in Roblox, like Locked, Spiked, and Classic Volleyball 4.2, gatekept themselves by not having tutorials and making you have the worst time of your life as a new player. And this is such a bummer, but it's something we see so often because I think a lot of developers on Roblox that are trying to make these complicated and interesting in-depth games heavily underrate how much accessibility matters. If you make a really simple game, fill it with slot machines, and have a whole bunch of particle effects, then you've basically got a recipe for success. But it doesn't mean that these other games can't succeed, it's that they shoot themselves in the foot by doing the exact kind of things that the guy is mentioning here, like gatekeeping the game and trying to turn away as many people as possible because your hardcore game doesn't have room for the newbies, and it's like, well, that's great and all, but now you have no one playing, and now your otherwise good game is being blocked off because you have all these hidden mechanics, and it's just stupid and it sucks because otherwise good games get shafted by themselves, which is such a bummer. Here's some information for some of you out there. I haven't totally tested this, so I can't speak 100% on its behalf, but Joe Mama 5810 says, funny thing is that a bunch of games ask you to like the game to use codes, which, if it was actually required, would break the TOS. Instead, games will say you have to, but it is a requirement. Joining the group, however, is allowed and required usually for codes in games. I think this is incredibly stupid. I think that the TOS should not force you to do either of these things, because artificially inflating your like ratio or your group members or any of these things by offering up in-game rewards just feels really slimy to me. I feel like you should be able to do these things without being forced to interact and help pump up these people's numbers. Ooh, we need more engagement, but Roblox doesn't give a shit. They're making bank, so what do they care? And then the last one was borderline perfection. It came from Sam Lerosberg, and they say, I don't see the problem with this game. The name advertises the game perfectly. Basketball Zero, it's in the name. There's zero basketball game. True, it's all slot machines. There's no basketball game. A little bit disingenuous of a comment. There's technically a basketball game, but I'd say it's more 60% slot machine, 40% basketball game. Anyways, yeah, with that, we're wrapping up today's video. Of course, as always with these videos, if you enjoyed it, you can leave a like and subscribe. If you didn't, don't. And with all that being said, have a wonderful day and night wherever you are, and I'll see you guys next time.